All right, welcome to the Financial Advantage podcast. This is Dennis Wells. Super excited today to be joined with Austin Bonta, who is a husband and a entrepreneur, and for the last 2 months been serving as the mayor of Portage, Indiana. And I think really the first time we had a chance to get together here face to face. It's been kind of a whirlwind, I'm sure, for you over the last 4 months or so. But thank you so much for joining me and being a part of the podcast here today.
Absolutely, Dennis. Thanks for having me here. It has been, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, good. It's been a bit like drinking out of a fire hose, but it's exciting. I mean, it's the dream job for me. I was excited to run for it, and doing the job is a lot more exciting than campaigning for it. So that's always a plus.
Well, I'm glad to hear that for sure, for sure. So again, congratulations. And so one of the first question I have obviously is what aspect of the mayor's position have you found to be the most challenging or the most interesting to this point?
I would say the most challenging thing is keeping up with the flow of information and the need for communication. There's a given day, I might be in one, two, or three meetings. And, while the meetings are going on, you want to be present, for the people there. But at the same time, when a meeting is over, you look at your phone, often on mute, and you realize there's text messages that you've missed, there's emails that gone through. There's just a steady stream of information, throughout the day. And so making sure that I'm taking the time to be catching up on everything is it's a challenge. I think I'm getting better at it. I used to think that I was bad at time management, and then I thought I got better. Then I got elected mayor. And so now it's a work in progress to make sure that I keep up with it all.
I I can't even imagine. I think I get a lot of emails, and I'm sure there's nothing compared with what you get over there. Um, so what inspired you to pursue public service in general and becoming mayor in particular?
I think it really probably began around the time that I came back to Portage and started working as a teacher. I taught special education for kindergarten through fifth grade for about 6 years. And at some point, the opportunity came to get involved in the city on the plan commission, and they wanted to have a teacher on there. So I guess it was just neat to be able to be in a city where they wanted to get the input from people in the community, whether that's teachers, whether that's engineers, entrepreneurs, just the different types of people you want represented on a community board. And so from there, I eventually ended up joining up on the fire merit board, learned more about the city. And after being on different city boards and commissions for a number of years, I felt that I got a good insight on how the city runs, but also a lot of ideas on how it could be run better. And that's really what pushed me to go for the top, run for mayor to be able to make the most effective change.
Awesome, awesome. Well, very good. But well, some might not know this, but you and your wife Megan run the Soundtide Music Studio there in Portage. And how has being a small business owner influenced the way that you view the office of mayor? And maybe how does that differ from how others have viewed the office in the past?
I think that my whole administration, we came in with what we call a customer service mindset. We come in understanding that the city exists, for the people who live in it. We're there to provide them with services, whether that's the fire department, police, or whether that's parks, stormwater, sanitary. And the other thing that I think that really comes into me from a management standpoint is the importance of communicating. I think this speaks more from a small business standpoint, the importance of communicating why we do things. So well, I still own a small business, but when I was the day-to-day manager, if we had to do a price increase or if we had to change the schedule, I had to be upfront about, why that is. And often enough, and you might know this too, when you're a small business owner, people sometimes don't think about how much overhead you have or why,
Mhm.
certain pricing is important or why you can't give a price cut just for this or, just for that. And I think that the same comes into being mayor. One of the first things that I did, it wasn't the most exciting thing, but the very first thing I did action wise as mayor was I canceled the free dumpsters at the street department. Since 2012, Portage residents and some other people who got away with it would be able to come to the street department and throw out trash at no charge. And the city was spending $123,000 a year on that free service, but it wasn't money that was anywhere in the budget. The city overall was borrowing $3 to $5 million, each year to stay, towards the end. We needed to start cutting back some of the red. And so,
Mhm.
but again, as there were people who said, oh, people are going to be really upset about that. And of course, there were some people who used that service who didn't want to see it go. But the communication piece, when people started to see how it fits with the budget, a similar situation came when still speaking on the trash, and we just recently did our trash talking city update, which was a mailer that got sent out. Changes that we made to the recycling policy and changes that we made to the bulk pickup fee. And there was a gentleman who basically wanted to know how much money was either being saved, offset by all these changes we were making, and being able to say to somebody, in the case of what we're doing with the cities.
Uh,
I'm sorry, could you hear me okay?
we lost you there for a couple of minutes. So like
Oh,
you're talking about the gentleman that wanted to know how much was being
right.
saved or offset. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it happened that if we were to continue doing what we were doing, like to continue without making any changes, we would have had to raise the garbage fees by $28 a month, which I think that most residents, when they understand that that was our choice, when it comes to, putting an end to a service that we couldn't afford,
Right.
versus raising prices to such a degree, I think that that is I think that that's the sort of thing that people, when you communicate it, they get it. And
Yeah.
I can't speak to everybody. It's just certainly not every municipality trusts that if you go out and explain why you're doing what you're doing, a lot of people will understand.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
So, but yeah, I think that that's a big piece of it is being able to explain to people what you're doing. And I think a lot of that comes from being a small business owner.
Yeah, very, very good. Well, and understanding the numbers because it's obviously a bigger scale, but I mean you've got revenue, expenses, and trying to make sure that those at least balance.
Absolutely.
So very good. Well, how do you see the local economy evolving over the next 4 years? And what initiatives do you want to lead the city to undertake to stimulate growth?
So the biggest project that we're working on right now is the Burns Parkway extension. And what that is that's the Burns Parkway on the north side of the city, so near the Ameriplex. And it currently runs east, west, and then starts to swerve south as you keep going west. What we're looking to do is build a bridge over the Burns Waterway and then extend that road up to connect 249 to Route 12, ultimately opening up 180 acres of land for new development in the city. And we anticipate it will become eventually a mix of some commercial and then also some probably more medium density, residential up there is kind of what we're striving for. Meanwhile, you've got on the south end of the city, the county's plan to extend Willow Creek Road all the way south to US 30. Now, I'm not sure what the timeline of that will be, but knowing that that's probably what's coming, we got to get ahead of that for land to the south of Route 700 that'll likely come within the city of Portage, in the coming years. We got to be in our efforts to reduce sprawl. We're essentially working to set up our city and think about it in terms of really a north side, a middle, which a lot of people now think is the south side, but in 20, 50 years will probably be the middle of Portage, and
Hmm.
then land that's undeveloped that one day will be the south side. I say
Okay.
that because Portage really has tremendous room for continued growth in population, but people are going to need things like restaurants and stores and other places for entertainment, hospitality. And so I see a lot of that coming as we start making Portage geographically accessible and as we start continuing to welcome people in and properly plan for that growth.
Okay. So, are you thinking of, I guess, annexing some of that land to the south of where Portage technically ends now, which I think is like a little bit north of 700?
In time, I think that that's going to happen. But for now, you're talking so much land in itself. that my short-term goal is actually to create what's called an extraterritorial district. So in Indiana, a municipality can control the zoning and the permitting up to 2 miles outside of its boundary, as long
Okay.
as it's unincorporated. So that's a discussion that we've begun to have with the county, because ultimately it's the county that sets that up by ordinance. But the goal would be to gain the control over that land so that we're able to make a plan for what would be, I think, gradual annexation over a period of 10, 20 some years is probably what we're looking at, but we're laying the groundwork for it now. I think more immediate growth is going to be on the north side, especially with the extension of Burns Parkway, and then some of the focus we're putting on to Route 20 from a redevelopment perspective.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity on Route 20 because I think that's been kind of neglected for a while, especially that section maybe, west of what is that, Willow Creek there.
Oh, it's
Um,
been fits and starts, but you got to remember too that over a period of years, the city, through honestly multiple administrations, has worked to make that developable. I mean, I remember growing up and you had kind of the rough spots on 20 and like the old motel that used to be there. And over time, the Portage Redevelopment Commission really took the lead in clearing
it
a
did.
lot of that. So some of the hard work has already been done, but now we've got to be bringing people in and making that land conducive for, positive development.
Cool. Love it. So what industries or sectors do you believe hold the most promise for entrepreneurs looking to invest and grow in Portage?
I think in the long term, I mean, Portage is always going to be a industrial city, so we're always going to have room for some light industry, a little bit more heavy, but probably more along the lines of light industry continuing to come in. I think that again, going back to this residential growth we're experiencing, we don't want to just be a bedroom community in Portage anymore. We want to be able to, of course, have people live here, but rather than driving 20 minutes, 30 minutes south into the west to go out and shop and to dine and to have things for the family to do, we're looking to set up a community where we're able to bring, what's the word I'm looking for? To bring more of that here in the city, to be our own anchor. So I would say if you're an entrepreneur, I would encourage you to bring the business that, you're looking to Portage as it is. It's a great location. We have 44 million people that drive through the city every year. We are within a 45-minute drive of 715,000 people. But as far as the community itself, I think that the hospitality, I think that the dining, and I think some retail is really going to prosper in Portage over the next coming years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, and I've well, because my wife grew up in Portage. So and even though we haven't always lived in the area since being married, we'd come back, at least once or twice a year. And so just seeing a lot of the development and things that have happened over the last, 20, 25 years has been pretty amazing. Cool. So quality of life is certainly an important aspect in choosing where someone wants to live and work. What initiatives or programs are you hoping to see to come to fruition in that regard over the course of your first term here?
So over the course of certainly the first term, but even if it goes into hopefully a second term, some of the projects we want to get rolling on, we've had a lot of great meetings with our park department when it comes to expanding the number of events that we have in the city. When you think about how we have some huge events in Portage already that get up to 5 to 8,000 people, in attendance, we want to make
Mhm.
sure that we're including more to bring people in when it comes to music, when it comes to our market. One of the things that we're working on already, say our community market, or what most people would call a farmer's market. We're looking to get vegetables, and things, and more
Mhm.
farmers participating in that. Um, Down the road, from a construction standpoint, we're looking to see about either getting some work done to build a ice rink in the city that could be utilized in the wintertime. And I'm a huge fan, of that. And then I don't necessarily think that this will get done in a first term, but we're trying to lay some groundwork, figure out a plan to create a shared workspace within the city. So if you're familiar with people who work from home or people who can work anywhere, but you want to have a spot that, is available, what have you, we're kind of studying what other communities in Indiana are doing to create a space like that for their community.
Okay. Yeah, you know, that's a great opportunity, I think, for a lot of folks, like you said, that they don't necessarily need someplace, you know, all the time, but to be able to use something, when they need to meet with people or do whatever they're doing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Very coal. So you mentioned that you were part of the planning commission while you were, an educator at the high school or at the school. And how do you see balancing the growth of residential real estate with the growth of business in the Portage area?
I think the two have a very, strong relationship with each other. On one hand, you want to have people so that you have, business that wants to serve them, but you also have to have enough business that people want to come and populate an area. So I think that you want to also make sure that your projected growth, essentially, can your tax base keep up with the population? And that's something that for us in Portage, we've demonstrated, surely, that this is a great place to live. People continue to move here, but what are we going to do to keep them there? And so I
Hmm.
see them, again, the two are so connected that essentially we want to be pro growth in both fronts. And I think that in Portage's case, where we really need to catch up on is how we become pro growth on that business side. There's things we're working on already with our building department to try to make it easier to get some approvals in Portage. I don't mean less safe. I mean easier to get
Okay.
through the hoops and things that you need to get through. We've been
Hmm.
working on it with our planning department, with how we review our procedures. We mentioned Route 20 earlier, in this interview. There are about 24 properties on Route 20 where the zoning is complicated in such a way that it can be a difficult process to get approval for something on there. So addressing that to have more development ready, sites on 20. I think that by really tackling those existing business corridors we have, getting them as productive as they could be, I think that helps increase the community retention, which again, I think just feeds into people wanting to continue to move to and reside in an area, in a city.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, One thing that came to mind, so obviously the city council looks quite a bit different this year than it did for the previous 4 years. And I know most all of the new people that are on there, and they're great folks. Tell me some of the dynamics that and the culture that you with the city council are hoping to develop here in Portage over the next 4 years.
So it's been a very good experience so far with this council. We have a lot of new people, so that includes people such as Melissa Weidenbach, who is the one of our at-large representatives, and her co-at-large rep is Ferdinand Alvarez. Now, I've known Ferdinand for some time. Our mothers live across the street from each other. I guess Portage isn't as big a city as we sometimes talk about it as. That you still have neighbors, ending up in elected positions, what have you. Victoria Gresham, representing District 3, serves the council president. She is the type where, if you know her, she's very big into rules and procedures and what are they. And it's kind of a whole new world. It's kind of a Wild West in a way. So we're in the process. I've been working with her and some of the other council members to kind of figure out what we want those rules and procedures to be, going forward. We
Hmm.
have, I guess I could start continuing with the council from the previous administration or the previous 4 years. Besides Ferdinand, you have Gina Geishurst and you have Colin Zilli. They are a different party, but like I often say to people, in local government, there's really no Republican or Democratic way to fix a pothole. And there's really not
Hmm.
a partisan way to make sure the trash is getting picked up. So I think that they've come in with a great attitude as far as working with everybody on the council and working with the mayor's office. I try to keep in as much communication with everybody, equally as I can, especially on a day like today where the council meeting is tomorrow. And Bob Parnell is doing a wonderful job representing District 2. He's somebody who's very attentive. If there's any meetings with departments that we're asking for some council people to come to, Bob is always excited to volunteer whenever he can. And then, of course, then you got Penny, who's representing District 4. She is, how I put it, I think she is somebody who is a little bit newer to like politics, if you will. I mean, she ran last year. She ran a great campaign, and I'm just really impressed with how much she has dived into the council and is a member now of the Redevelopment Commission, is one of the council appointees to the Redevelopment Commission.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to to seeing how this all progresses. And I've known Bob for several years, and actually my wife grew up with Penny's husband back in the day.
Wow.
So on the same
See, it's
same
really
street.
not so big a city as we act like, really. We know it's gonna be. We know it's growing. It's bigger than it was 20 years ago, but at the same time, there's still those interconnections, you know?
Yep, 100%, 100%. Well, I really enjoyed this here today. Is there a question that I didn't ask, but I should have?
Maybe how is Meg doing?
Yeah, how is Meg doing?
I think she's doing really well. So again, for the past 6 years, she and I, my wife, we've co-owned our business together. We still do. I'm still involved in the company, but I'm not the day-to-day manager anymore. So she and I, our relationship is going great. I mean, we are still, spending a lot of time together. We make the schedules work well. But what I think she really likes is having our manager now, Rachel. Rachel does such a great job as the day-to-day manager of the business. I think that Rachel is better than I was because she's not running for mayor at the same time that she's the manager of the business. And I think that that's made things run a whole lot more smoothly in actuality, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, obviously, you know, making that plan for the transition so that, your business keeps moving forward, but you're able to focus your attention on, you know, obviously all the things that you're learning in City Hall these days.
Absolutely.
So very, very cool. Well, hey, if someone wanted to learn more about Portage or get more involved in the community, what is the best way for them to access more information?
I would start with the Portage, Indiana website. We have a great website for the city. It's getting a little bit better, each week, just with some of the ways that, we've been working on it. But I would start there. You can also probably follow the city government page or myself on Facebook to stay informed. I don't think we have the other social media just yet. Facebook seems to be doing pretty well for us, but we'll see kind of as that progresses how to keep more in touch with residents on the social media side.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate, I know your schedule is super packed, so I appreciate you carving the time out to get together and have a conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for what you do.
All right. Thank you so much. And you have a great day.
You too. Bye.
All right.